Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today, my friends, is September 11th, 2023. Hope you and yours are safe and well. There's a lot going on in the world today, and I'm glad that we're taking the chance to learn a little bit, taking the time to pause on this very important day to remember and just to say hi to each other. So this is a big day on the calendar, both because it's the week leading into Rosh Hashanah. It's a big day because today we are alive. Today is a difficult day, and so I'm really glad that we get to be together. I'm very appreciative. My wife and I were just taking a walk, comforting each other. I'll talk about some memories in a moment, but I'm really glad that we all have each other. I hope that you're taking good care of yourself today. It is, I forget who just wrote it, that it's a difficult moment in history, a difficult day. Deborah, you wrote it. Thank you for that. So let's see who's here. Let's start with blessing. That's the right way to start any day, especially a day like today. So good morning, Adrian and Linda, Fabrice. I'm glad you're here from Paris. Nice to have friends far away who are very close in our hearts. Let's see who else is here. Joyce, Barry, Ron, Arlene, Deborah and Chana, Lydia, Cecile, Judy, good to see you. Amy and Arlene, Debbie and Amy, Ron, Natalie and Shari, Sandy, Natalia, Helen. Good morning, everyone. It's broadcast 881. Thanks, Arlene. I'm sure Penny will join us in a moment and be proud of you. Barbara and Jill, Ashley, good morning. Hi, Diane. Okay, friends. I knew, Penny, you'd be here, and yes, it is broadcast 881, and it is such a sad day. Let's take a second. Let's sing a blessing, share some Torah, and we'll make this a good day together. לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה, הפוך בה והפוך בה, לעסוק בדברי תורה. Hi, everybody. Today is September 11th, and that means that we pause. There are moments on the Jewish calendar, there are moments on the American calendar, there are moments on the global calendar that require specific kinds of energy and attention. And we don't lose ourselves in the grief, but we don't deny its reality. And in memory of those that were lost on this terrible, terrible day 22 years ago, we learn, we pause, we mourn, we grieve, we grow, we commit to life, and we pause. Arlene shared already where she was in that moment. She was on that bright sunny day, which I remember so well, from the Upper West Side of Manhattan, where I was a senior in rabbinical school. She wrote, "My twins were supposed to go to nursery school for orientation." I'm going to ask us to share, where were you? Friends, where were you? What do you remember? My wife said to me just on a walk we took a moment ago, I was listening to the Come From Away soundtrack, which is a deep processing play, incredible music that is about the events of 9/11 in a very specific way. That the welcome and the hospitality and the warmth and kindness of people in New Zealand took care of so many who were stranded there on the planes that landed in an emergency on the runways there. Diane, you were driving into New York City from Westchester. Sandy, you were on a bus approaching the Port Authority from New Jersey. I won't recite what everyone writes, but I do hope that you'll share where you were. Where you were. I was in my last year of rabbinical school at the Jewish Theological Seminary, and I was getting into the elevator, where my friend Ezra said, "Someone just flew a plane into the World Trade Center," and I couldn't believe him. I was on my way down the elevator to go repark my car because of alternate side of the street parking rules, and I turned on 1010 Winds, which I always do, or did, and I just sat there knowing that there was going to be no need to repark my car. Carolyn, you were in your apartment on 102nd and Broadway, brushing your teeth, and the news said there's a gap in the World Trade Center. I was living on 104th and Amsterdam. We were neighbors and didn't know it. Lisa, you were leaving for work, and your mother came out and called your father and you back into the house. Natalia, you were still in your homeland, Colombia, but you were worried about your family in New York without communication. Kim, you were in your apartment and realized that your husband was downtown. I'm so glad Alan's okay. Fabrice, you were in Paris, back from lunch, and some friends called and told you to watch CNN. Something unbelievable had happened. Sherry, you were at work. You watched the tower get hit in disbelief. Linda, you were at work, and the boss called everyone into the office. Joyce, you were ready to go to work, living in Rochester, knowing that many of your elderly family members lived a 5-minute walk from Ground Zero. So were mine. My great Aunt Helen, of blessed memory, lived on Bethune Street within full view. Minna, you watched on Good Morning America. Deborah, you remember every moment. The most difficult, you say, was that the plane that went down in Shanksville flew over your son Jeremy, flew over you in Cleveland. You knew the flight pattern. Julie, you were on the next building. You were on the MetLife building coming out of the subway. Amy, your son, who was at NYU at the time, watched from their window with their roommate. I know I didn't share everyone's writing, friends, but I really hope that you will continue sharing. It's one of those moments where we knew, and we will always know where we were. My eldest child wasn't yet born, but we knew she was on the way, and I worried so much for the world that we were bringing a child into, and I said that to another one of my children today, another one of our kids. And she was asking me questions. Did you see the smoke? And I realized, I asked her actually, how do you feel? You were born considerably after this happened. She said, probably the way that you feel about moments you didn't live through but will always remember. And I think that there's deep truth there. I do know that on that day, I was a senior in rabbinical school, and I stood with my classmates because all of the senior staff at JTS was off the island, and because of what happened, the island was on lockdown. They couldn't come back in, and suddenly we were in charge, which was ridiculous. And I was grasping for meaning. What could we possibly do? I stood with my friend, now Rabbi Ari Sunshine. He's in Texas, but we stood together and we knew we were going to sing a song. What were we going to sing to chant? And we decided we were going to sing Yehi Shalom, a really important song written by my wife's father. But I also needed some way of framing it, and so I quoted her. Neshama had been performing for some time, and I had admired her teaching and her voice. And she taught about these words, Yehi Shalom b'cheilech, Shalva b'armenotayich, a verse from Psalms, may there be peace in your midst, Shalva, serenity, b'armenotayich, in your palaces. And Neshama taught, and I repeated on 9/11 to the JTS community in her name, which is very powerful to me. We weren't yet in each other's lives, and yet she was in my life in this way. The teaching that she came to, an understanding about this verse, which is there are 2 times peace is mentioned, peace and serenity. Not only must we achieve peace in our midst, but deep down in the places that we keep hidden, armenotayich, palaces usually are protected. In your deeper places, the places that are harder to access, may we have serenity there. And in this moment, friends, that's the tall order. But it's been 22 years. 22 years ago, my sister was a first responder at Ground Zero. I think about her all the time on this day. 22 years ago, I couldn't reach my great aunt, but thank God, eventually, I was able to hear that she was okay. 22 years ago, all of the clergy of every faith, of every tradition, had to figure out how to talk about such unfathomable things. I don't have some way of resolving this. I don't think that's what today is about. But I will tell you that one of the most stark memories I have was a group of maybe 100 students from JTS walking to the nearest blood donation center. And we couldn't donate blood because too many people were trying. And the next one, it was the same case, because for some time, it didn't last forever. We were all so kind. We knew we were children of God, all of us. For some time, we knew that kindness was the only way to rebuild. It could never make up for the loss. When I flew to the high holidays, where I was leading in Richmond, Virginia, I was leading the parallel service at my father's synagogue. I remember the plane banked to ascend, to gain more height. I couldn't believe I'd gotten on a plane again. And we looked straight down into Ground Zero. And it took me 20 years to return to Ground Zero just to see it. I couldn't bring myself. Until 3 years ago, I couldn't bring myself there. And I can barely imagine going back now. But the kindness really lingers in my memory. Today's a day where we lost so much, and even though we can quantify the number of souls we lost in the attacks, there's no calculating the universes of good they would have done. And so it's on us to do good in their names. It's on us, friends. It's really important for us to give ourselves the chance to grieve and to remember and to teach our children about a world before and what the world must become. Because while we have learned so much, look at the transformation of travel, of mistrust, of war, of weaponry, what fear does. And we learned to be kind for a time. We learned that when we held the American flag, it was about solidarity with humanity. That's something we have to remember again. We thanked emergency responders in such a profound way. I remember the concert after 9/11. I remember seeing David Bowie sing Paul Simon's America to first responders. I remember Billy Joel taking a policeman's hat and putting it on. Do we think about the sacrifice of emergency responders who just wanted to save more lives? I remember my friend, my grade school classmate Andrew Zucker of blessed memory, who died in the attacks. He died trying to save people, bringing them up and down the stairs. It's so important for us not to just go through today as if it's just a day. It's different from Tisha B'Av on the Jewish calendar, but the language has always resonated for me. And when I go back to Manhattan and I see it alive, also after the pandemic, it is so incredible to me, our resilience, that life within us and between us, and the way we build our cities, it is a constant energy. There's an album by Bruce Springsteen called The Rising that if you're not familiar with, I hope that you'll listen to today. I tried playing it a second ago. Didn't come out right, so I don't want to butcher something sacred. I'll just read you a little bit. There's a blood-red circle on the cold, dark ground. This is Springsteen's words. The rain is falling down. The church doors thrown open, I can hear the organ's song, but the congregation's gone. My city of ruins. Now the sweet bells of mercy drift through the evening trees, young men on the corner like scattered leaves. The boarded-up windows, the empty streets, while my brother's down on his knees, my city of ruins. And then he turns and he says, come on, rise up. Come on, rise up. Come on, rise up. Now there's tears on the pillow, darling, where we slept. You took my heart when you left. Without your sweet kiss, my soul is lost, my friend. Tell me, how do I begin again? My city's in ruins. And then he turns again. If there was a prophet of that day, it was Bruce Springsteen. Because for the next long while he sings, and you should hear this song. Let it penetrate you. Now with these hands, with these hands I pray, Lord. With these hands I pray for the strength, Lord. I pray for the faith. I pray for your love, Lord. I pray for the strength, for your love, for the strength. With these hands. So friends, I'm going to ask you, and I'm committing myself, in the name of all those we lost, in the name of pure evil, response to pure evil, our fiery response to people who are willing to kill others. It wasn't buildings that went down, it was our humanity. In the name of all those we lost, and in the name of our heroes who tried their best to save others, in the name of our heroes who have survived and who have endured our callousness, not taking care of our first responders the way we should, in the name of all of those we've lost, let's commit to being more good with these hands, to doing good with everything we've got, to not living in grief, but channeling it to make us more fierce in our love. Today is a day where flags fly at half-mast. Today is a day where many of us just cry. So, channeling my wife's wisdom, those inner places that we often keep walled and protected, that's where we need this healing most of all. May it remind us not only to look within, may it remind us to look at our neighbors and love them. May it remind us that what falls can be rebuilt, and the human heart is capable of incredible healing and good. I bless you with strength. I bless you with faith. In some ways, what was lost will always be a little bit broken. But in the name of those we lost, let's remember what we wish they would have had, life, and commit to it once again. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. A new year is almost upon us. Imagine the unfathomable good we will do in this coming year. Let's prepare to look back with pride. We can still cry. We will. But let's prepare to look back with pride at the decisions we've made, how to love each other more effectively, more fiercely, more universally. No more walls between people. Let's be kind to each other with no reason. Let's be kind to each other with no pain. Let's be good to each other. Let's be good neighbors. Let's rise up. Bless you, friends. See you tomorrow.